Good morning, my loveliest FreeMelons. It is a wonderfully rainy day here in Toronto. Thank you so much for joining me on the show. I am Eli Martyr, and I just wanted to run over a couple of things with you guys. Questions and comments that I've had over time through my inbox on my Facebook account and whatnot, private messages. And there are just some things I want to keep straight as we proceed on this channel, especially knowing that soon I'm going to release a video of 10 different meals that you can use to help on your transition to a fully raw diet, fully raw, high fruit-based diet. And and I get questions and comments about this kind of stuff all the time. So here's what I want to get very, very clear with you. Because I'm in a position whereby I'm trying to help and I'm giving other people advice, you have to understand that when I'm giving advice, I'm doing so and taking into consideration where people are at generally, okay? So for someone who's got a horrible diet, for example, horrible lifestyle, everything is wrong, I may not necessarily recommend the purest and most ideal form of nutrition because that would be too difficult a jump for that person, right? Do you understand? You're not going to tell the chronic alcoholic to go on a fruitarian exclusive diet. It's so much of a shock that the mind and the body are not going to accept this change readily. For someone to go cold turkey and make a dietary and lifestyle change like that, they need to be armed with deep knowledge of the thing that they're seeking to change first. And it's only then that you can find those people that can go cold turkey. But if you're just giving someone advice, right, and they don't have the background and they're just going off of what you're saying, they're not going to have the strength and understanding to be able to make these changes cold turkey. So understand that when I give advice, I may not necessarily be giving the perfect and most ideal form of advice, but I'm inching ever and ever closer to that, okay? I hope that's clear. You've heard me very often in the past recommend that a raw food diet is best, which it is. You've also heard me say that nuts and seeds, if desired, and some vegetables can be used. I want to add a caveat to this. When I give that advice, I give that knowing that the average person will not necessarily be ready to give up the things that are not the most ideal. Let's talk about fats, nuts and seeds, and avocados and olives and whatnot. All of these really high fat foods. These foods are not ideal nutrition for the human body, okay? I'll say that again. If we're talking about the highest form of nutrition, the most nourishing, the most cleansing, the best type of food that you could possibly eat, nuts and seeds will not help you get there. Avocados and olives will not help you get there, okay? I have recommended them and I will still recommend them in the future, but you should understand that in terms of absolute purity, fats are not what you want, will not help you get to the highest form of purity in your nutritional endeavor. Let's take it back a step. What is, in nature, the function of a nut or seed? The function of the nut or the seed is to grow into something. It's to grow a plant. Maybe that plant might be a vegetation, it might be a fruit tree, whatever it is. Whatever nature's intention for the nut or seed is, its ideal purpose is not food. Its highest purpose is to grow and become that which nature has instructed it to become. Yes, certain animals are not at the highest level of evolutionary complexity. A human being is at a very, very high and sophisticated level of complexity, requiring the highest and most sophisticated type of complexity in the vegetation, right? The highest form of vegetation, the highest, most evolved, most complex form of vegetation is the fruit. So the highest form of vehicle, a physical vehicle, the human being, uses a high form of nutrition, the fruit. To subsist off of a low level of nutrition like the nut or seed is not the most advantageous thing for the human being to be eating. Now, how does nature make this obvious to us? Nature makes this obvious to us just by the fact alone that the nut and seed is a very difficult thing to make a meal out of. A walnut is protected in an incredibly dense, hard shell. You need to do a lot of work to get at one single walnut. Now, if you do manage to extract that walnut and eat it, doesn't do much. You need to expend tons of energy to crack open a crap load of walnuts before you can even come close to having a meal. The amount of energy expended in just simply accessing the defense mechanisms that nature has encapsulated around the walnut make it a wasteful form of nutrition to try and subsist off of. Whereas I can find one single papaya in a tropical environment and eat that and be pretty satisfied. No wasted effort, right? If I stumble upon an apple tree, I need only pick the apple and eat. No wasted energy. Energy efficiency is something that is very important to consider when you are taking into account what an organism or what a species is designed to eat. Ease of access, right? This is how nature makes your diet obvious to you. So that's the logical approach, okay? Now let's take the experiential approach. Let's say you ignore these natural callings and you just want to experiment for yourself. Go to the store and buy a huge supply of nuts and subsist on those nuts only for a day, 2 days, okay? Tell me how you feel. Do the exact same thing with fruits, high water content fruits. Do that for a day. Do that for 2 days. Tell me how you feel. You will unquestionably feel far better, far superior, far more lively on the fruit diet than the nut and seed diet. Because the function of the nut or seed is to grow into something, right? It is jam-packed with protective enzymes, right? Because nature doesn't want the nut to be eaten. It wants to store and preserve that thing. So it's jammed with protective enzymes that prevent it from decaying and degrading like an apple would. Those protective enzymes taken into the body make it a very difficult task for the body to gain access to the nutrition of the seed. Not only that, but the nut and seed are dense storehouses of protein and fat. Way too much protein, way too much fat, okay? Your body has to, again, labor excessively to break apart these proteins and break apart these fats and get access to them. And there are byproducts associated with this complicated breakdown. The fats are going to drastically slow down your arterial blood flow, drastically slow down all the metabolic processes. Your GI system will slow down considerably. You know, if you're on a fruit diet and you have nuts and seeds for a day, you might not have a bowel movement for another 2 days, right? It just slows everything to a crawl. Nuts and seeds are an emergency food only, okay? If we're talking about the most ideal form of nutrition, it's emergency food only. You do not want to be eating high-fat foods. High-fat foods are a no-no when it comes to optimal human nutrition. This is why avocados are a bit of an anomaly. Yes, I know they are a fruit. Yes, I know I have advocated them. Yes, I know I will advocate them in the future, depending on what the purpose of my lecture is. Same thing with nuts and seeds and whatnot. But as you know, I don't eat these things in my practice. Why? Because I understand them and I know that they're not the best thing for me. And because I've experimented with them personally for myself, for my own knowledge, and for you guys. I've done the meal of 7-8 avocados only in one meal. And I've felt the effects of what that feels like. Trust me, it's not good. I've tried the nut meals. I've tried cooked nut meals and roasted nuts. I've tried just a huge bowlfuls of nuts as a meal. It's debilitating. These meals are crippling. I've tried mitigating the effects with nuts and vegetables, high vegetables, and a little bit better. But still, these meals are debilitating, crippling. I'll wake up the next morning after having a high avocado meal, and my back will hurt. I'll have pain in my body. High fat foods are not meant for you. High fat is very, very difficult on the body. You will not notice the enervating effect of high-fat foods if you are eating a regular-ish diet, right? If your diet is already subpar, mediocre, then yeah, you're going to have, a huge salad loaded with avocado and nuts and whatnot, and you're going to feel great because your body isn't clean enough to detect the subtleties of a slightly impairing, diet, right? It's only when you really clean yourself out that you notice how devastating and how debilitating high-fat foods are, okay? And foods that are not meant for you. So again, I repeat, in terms of ideal nutrition, avocados, nuts, seeds, these things should be avoided if possible, okay? Always avoid them if possible. Always opt for high fruit diet, right? Supplemented, if you want, with vegetables. And even that, I would keep to a minimum. I can get into why no vegetables in more detail later. The focus on this is nuts and seeds and high-fat foods. And again, I'll be releasing a video in the future with some sample meals, transitional meals, and I will be making use of nuts and seeds and avocado. But in preparation for that, I just want to get this out of the way because people have asked me many times before. They wonder why I don't personally eat nuts and seeds and avocados, but, you know, why do I recommend or say that you can have them sparingly? Well, this is why, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, nature always knows best. When in doubt, what you must do is you must sit and you must give it some thought. Think about your own biology. Think about the human body. Think about what is most intuitive, what is most natural for you to subsist on. Consider how your taste buds respond to certain foods, right? Consider ease of access. How would it be if you were in a natural setting, right? Nature doesn't make these mistakes. You don't necessarily need to know all of the science behind how nuts and seeds and fats metabolize in the body and whatnot. If it's not obvious to you right away, then simply do the tests, right? Isolate that food and eat it in meal-like quantities. See how it affects you. And if the effect is pretty rough, then it's probably not the best food for you. Nothing could be more perfect than the fruit. Nothing could be more perfect. Ease of access, right? It excites all your senses in a way that no other food source does. This is undeniable, unquestionable. Any child knows this, okay? Water. What is more important than food? Water, of course, right? You need water way more than you need actual dense physical food. What food comes with more water content? A fruit. It's got everything. You just need to think about this. And the obviousness, the truth jumps out at you, okay? It's fruit, of course. This is why that is what I eat. And that's why I am a fruitarian, primarily a fruitarian. I don't have nuts and seeds and avocados and whatnot, because that's just not the ideal form of nutrition. And I feel way better without those fats in my body. You will get fat on fat. If you eat fat, you will get fat. Yes, this is true. The old research is true. And as much as the new bro science and all the keto garbage and all the paleo nonsense will try to have you believe, if you're eating any kind of even natural diet, high fat will make you fat. If you're eating a ketogenic diet is very difficult on your body long term. Yeah, you might lose a little bit of weight at first, but this is not sustainable at all. You are damaging yourself. You are killing yourself if you think you are being healthy on a ketogenic diet. Simple carbohydrates, the fruits, that is the food of man. That is what your body is designed to run off of. It is not designed to run off of the fats, okay? And if you think that, you will pay the consequences sooner or later. Anyway, so I hope I've made this clear. I hope I've made it clear that there is an ideal form of nutrition, right, that I may not necessarily recommend at all times because I am trying to appeal to an audience and trying to get everyone closer and closer to the ideal. But in so doing, you have to make the diet palatable, right, to as many tastes as possible. So in trying to do the most good and the most benefit for a wide group of people, right, you have to understand that I can't just say, well, everyone should eat only papayas, right, and that's it, right? That's not going to be sustainable for many people who are on different levels. So, you know, that's not helpful. There are different approaches, okay? So understand that. But of course, in the end, always remember, nature always wins, guys. Nature always, it always comes back to that, right? She makes no mistakes. She made no mistakes designing your body. She made no mistakes designing how you respond to different foods. It's only man and his contrivances that deceive you and pull you away from your natural resources and your natural instincts and intuitions. And very finally, guys, if you are getting in touch with me on Facebook and you have some questions and whatnot, I'm always open. I keep myself open to these types of things, so you can find me. One thing I would ask though, if you are adding me on Facebook, don't just send me a request and say nothing. Please tell me who you are, right? If you are a subscriber or you have questions, don't just send a request and just leave it at that. I don't know who you are, right? So you have to actually message me, say hi. Let me know who you are, let me know what your question is or whatnot. Or if you're just writing to say hi, fine. But just please introduce yourself and tell me who you are. Don't just send me a request and leave it at that. I won't be able to do much with that, okay? Thank you so much for listening, guys. I hope that clarified a bunch of things for you, and I will see you next time on the FreeMelon Society.